Hello and welcome to the review of the Maruti Suzuki Baleno, rebadged as the Toyota Glanza. And we start our review by taking it on some of the trails or the not so suited roads for the Baleno. Now, initial impressions, and I'll start with the positives because that's very limited, is that over these slightly broken roads, the Baleno actually handles them well. Baleno or the Glanza, I'll use them interchangeably. It's got a decent ride on these sort of roads which aren't as broken. So these scarred surfaces, it takes it into its stride and has a decent ride. The only thing is it rattles a lot. So, but still overall takes it quite well. The other good thing about the Baleno is that the engine is decent for the weight of the car. So because it's very light, it can make do with a naturally aspirated 1.2 liter engine, but you load it up and the engine starts to fall short. It needs more power, definitely. In terms of handling the Baleno, the best way to describe it is uninvolved. The Baleno does not care, honestly, what sort of roads are there. It's just uninterested in being driven. That's the whole feeling you get while driving a Baleno. It's very, like, the front end, when you turn it, there is no immediacy there. It just does what you tell it, nothing more, nothing less. And that is sort of the feeling overall with the entire car. It feels like it's been designed to sell in the showrooms in the initial inspection, but as you dig deeper and once you start owning it, it just falls flat. For example, the ride that I was talking about, it's okay on partly broken roads, but anything larger and the Baleno crashes through it. Over these roads, a keen vehicle like, say, a Figo or a Polo would be super exciting to drive. Very nice spot. When you drive to places like these, you miss a car that's fun to drive because it feels that the car is also enjoying it with you. The reason why it's even more so important here is you need to know where your tires are on these roads, where there are potholes, there are slippery sections. So the front end doesn't give you that feedback, and because the front end isn't so great in terms of feedback and does not have a lot of front end grip as well, the car feels very skittish over these roads. It doesn't inspire you to push or even feel comfortable while driving on these roads. As I said, the ride over such roads is decent. I'll give it that. But anything larger, a larger pothole or something, and the Baleno falls flat. Why all of this is more sad is because of two reasons. One is there are so many people in our country who are buying these Balenos, and all of them won't get to enjoy a proper, well-sorted mechanical car. What they are getting is a non-enthusiast experience. They'll never look forward to these drives or buy enthusiast cars in the future. It's just spoiling the petrol heads' future overall. And the other reason why this is sad is because the engine and the way the clutch, accelerator and brake are placed in terms of closeness to each other, it's perfect for heel and toe. If you want to downshift, you can do that very well in this engine. See, it's so easy to execute these sort of shifts. So the recipe is there, it's just that the tuning is so bad, it just takes the joy away of driving a mongoose. Furthermore, the reason why a lot of people buy these cars is because of the fuel efficiency. Now I've driven it over mixed roads, highway and like roads like these, which have been in better shape, so I've been able to put it into third and fourth quite frequently, and even after that the fuel efficiency that I'm getting is 14.5 kilometers a liter, which is okay, but it isn't great. Like for example, I have an EcoSport, and on these exact sort of roads, this exact journey, it would have been able to give me 11.5-12 kilometers a liter, and that's an automatic. So the torque converter saps easily 10% of the efficiency. So if it were an EcoSport manual, I would easily get 12.5-13 kilometers a liter. So for 1.5 kilometers a liter, you are losing out so much on the driving experience and so much on the entire ownership experience that it's just not worth it. And don't forget that the base versions of the EcoSport or even the XUV 300, they are priced close to the top model of the Glanza or the Baleno. To do a little bit of off-roading with the Baleno because of the place we are going to. Okay, not so much. Relatively easy from here. This climb is going to be a little bit. The problem with the Baleno is that the ABS is very sharply calibrated, so it cuts in a bit too early. This climb is going to be a little bit. The tires have decent grip, but the ABS starts kicking in before that, so that braking process is not enjoyable. So as soon as you stand on the as soon as you dab the brakes, the car comes to a halt rapidly. But then overall the bite of the brakes is also like decent, even though it only has drum brakes in the rear. Overall the braking has been decently done. The only thing is, as I had mentioned earlier, the ABS calibration could have been done much better. It kicks in too early. In the simplest of situations where the ABS maybe wouldn't have been required. I started this trip yesterday and I've driven it for 208 kilometers right now. Overall, it's been a very joyless driving experience. It's a car that has 4 wheels and an AC, that's it. No emotions driving the Baleno. The Japanese were known for making great engines, and this has some of the really good ingredients that could make a nice car. The engine is decent for its size. The ergonomics are good. The way the pedals are placed, as I had mentioned earlier, are amazing. But then it has been tuned so badly to suck the joy out of driving. See how tall the gearing is. 3rd gear. Crossed 100. In the interest of fuel economy. The chassis is also decently neutral, which is why the Swift Sport is perhaps such a nice vehicle in the Europe. But they've made this from neutral to soulless. I somehow remember the tuning in the Swift to be a little bit more aggressive. The engine was a little bit happier at the red line compared to the Baleno. but the front end doesn't communicate anything. It doesn't dart into corners. The roll is decently managed for a small budget hatch. Is where the car loses its composure. It's as if it's saying this to you directly, like, this is the limit. The chassis gives up. The other important piece is obviously safety. While driving hard, you know you're in a car that isn't as safe. So that also puts a mental block. One area where the Baleno definitely has an edge against the competition is the ease of driving. Now, I asked someone who hasn't driven an automatic, has only driven an automatic before, to try out the Baleno manual. And it was much easier for them to drive compared to any other manuals that they have driven. So because of the light controls, things falling into place easily, it's very easy to drive the Baleno, and it's a small car. So overall, I think for someone who's buying their first car, they find the Baleno very easy to drive. But the thing is, like 6-8 months down the line, you'll outgrow the Baleno. You'll have gone past the stage of being a newbie driver, and then once you start going on drives, the Baleno won't excite you. Talking about features, like if you look at the base variant of the XUV300 and compare it to the top variant of the Baleno, in terms of the instrument cluster itself, the XUV gets quite decent MID, and the Baleno, like, it only has this power and torque curves, which are actually a gimmick. Not, look at this one, yeah, it shows you how much power and torque you're using. It's a gimmick, it's not that useful in real world. That's it. The rest of the things are all there in the XUV300. The touchscreen is another thing. I know the base XUV300, at least when I checked, didn't come with a touch, even a music system, but you can definitely get that from outside. But the rest of the car, as I had mentioned in my XUV300 review, the rest of the car is pretty decent, and it covers all the basics that you would need from your car, and they are priced almost the same, all around 8 lakh rupees. So if you can get the Mahindra dealer, you can ask them to retrofit the touchscreen from the higher variants, maybe pay something from your pocket. I think it's a much better vehicle overall. How does the Baleno compare to the Polo? Now I've driven both the 1 liter 3-cylinder and the GT TSI, something I own. So in my GT TSI review, I had mentioned that I regret buying it, and that's not because I wanted to buy a Baleno or a Swift. It's because I had assumed that it would be an enthusiastic car, like the all-time greats like the Fiat Linea TJ, the Ford Fiesta, the first generation, but it wasn't that. And I think if you're buying for a family sort of a use case, where if you just have one kid and a couple of people in your family, you won't use the back seat as much, the Polo is definitely a much better car than the Baleno for that sort of a use case. The only things you'll have to keep in mind is that the brakes of the Polo, they fade quite quickly, and they're not as effective. I would have to mention that, like especially 80 to 100, when you're pushing it hard, especially the new 1 liter TSI engine, you will be pushing that car for sure. But it doesn't, the brakes aren't as good, at least in the 2015 model that I have. and they had made some changes to it in 2019. So do test drive it, but keep an eye out for that. The ride and handling overall, the handling, there is no contest. Like the Polo is much better. It feels way stable. Like what the Baleno feels at 80, the Polo perhaps feels like that at 140. So it's much stable at higher speeds. And even in terms of handling, the Polo is very neutral and involving. Baleno is neutral and soulless. So if you want to enjoy driving, definitely the Polo is the one to go for. In terms of ride, as I said before, like the Baleno handles a particular type of roads, that is scarred surfaces or minor broken roads, very well. The Polo is stiffer in those cases as well, especially if you buy one with a 16-inch wheels like the GT TSI nowadays. So keep that in mind. Even on larger bumps, both of the cars thud through. They make a lot of noise and the absorption isn't great. So this is common. The only thing, I think the only area where the Polo takes it a little bit better is if you're going fast and you're not able to slow down for a bump. The Polo is able to handle that situation quite well. It regains its composure very quickly after a bump. Baleno's balance goes for a toss in such situations. So overall, for driving fast, for enjoying drives, the Polo is definitely a better car. But if you're buying a Polo thinking that it's one of the all-time great enthusiast cars, maybe you'll be disappointed if you come from the previous generation Fords or Fiats. It's not in that league. But compared to most of the hatchbacks in this segment, it's definitely out there. If I were to buy a car from the Maruti stable, I would, and in this price range, I would in fact buy the Swift. The Swift has, I think, a better suspension tuning. It does not float on the roads. It feels a little bit more planted than the Baleno. The front end is a bit more responsive in the Swift. And the engine also feels a little bit more energetic in the Swift compared to the Baleno. The Baleno's ride on partly broken roads is a little bit better than the Swift, but I would still take that compromise. The other reason for that is the entire dashboard in the Swift. It's angled towards the driver. It feels very sporty. Even the consoles, the tachometer, speedometer, they are marked in red and they glow really nice at night. So overall, it feels like a much more sporty car. It is sportier than the Baleno, and the driving experience also is better. So I would choose that over this if I were to buy a Maruti. Now, I haven't driven the Nios much, to be honest. I have driven it for around 15-20 kilometers, that's it. So my knowledge is limited for the Nios, but I would say that the interiors of the Nios are definitely better. In fact, if you're looking for rear seat comfort, I would choose the Nios over the Baleno for up to 4 people. I think the width of the Baleno's cabin is a little bit more, but the seats in the Nios are way more comfortable than the Baleno. They are not as upright, and the underthigh support is also great in the Nios. The other thing is the dashboard. The dashboard of the Nios looks very modern, very contemporary. It has these nice materials, and for the first time someone has actually done something different than either black or combination of black and beige. They have tried a unique theme with the Nios, and I think it looks really good. The engine, the Hyundai 1.2 isn't as good as the Maruti Suzuki 1.2, definitely. It's not as rev happy. I think that's true for most Hyundai engines, like petrols. None of them are as rev happy as its competitors. and Maruti makes some of the most rev happy engines, so you can't compare the two engines. But if you're driving in the city, perhaps that's okay. In terms of safety, both of them are bad, the Nios and the Baleno, so both of them 2-star rated, can't do much there. Which is why I feel instead of shopping in this segment, you should perhaps buy the lower variant of a higher segment, the base variant of the XUV 300. That's what I would buy if I were shopping in this segment. Even if you go to the showroom and try out the Baleno, I think the thing is, if you involve a lot of people in your car buying decision, you will end up buying a car that everyone likes but no one loves. And that's the sort of car that Baleno is. Like, it has space to keep your rear seat passengers happy. It has the gadgets to keep your children happy. It has a decent engine perhaps to keep the driver in you happy during the test drive, during your showroom evaluation. You'll feel okay, it's perhaps the best compromise of all the things that I'm looking for. But once you start living it with it, like, it'll make no one love the car, and it'll just be another tool that just, it's like your sofa, it's like your dining table, it's just there, it's just another thing that you own, and none of your family members will ever fall in love with the Baleno. And the issues that I mentioned, like if you are planning to buy a Polo and the rear seat space is what's stopping you, then you can buy the Rapid Rider if that's an issue. Or if the brakes and all the suspension issues that I had mentioned with the Polo earlier, that's what's stopping you, try the XUV 300, the base variant. I think that solves all the issues and has almost as much space in the back. The service wouldn't be as expensive. There are better options out there than the Baleno. Okay, so let's talk rear seat space. Now, I've set this seat to my position. I'm 5'11" and I have a very laid back driving position. So if I sit behind myself, the knee room is decent. I still have 2 to 3 inches, maybe more. And I can even stretch out my legs because there is space under the driver's seat. So decent place to be. The only thing is the recline angle of the backrest is a little bit upright. So I don't know why Maruti does this. In all its hatches, it's a little bit upright, but if you move to the Dzire or the Ciaz, this angle is perfect. I think this is done to keep the boot space also sane. That's the reason why they do it. But I would take comfort of my passengers over the comfort of my luggage. So this is something that I think Maruti could have done better. The other piece I'd like to talk about is headroom, which is decent. Anyone like above 6'1", I think they would have issues here, but otherwise, like, decent headroom here. Even the width of the seat is decent. Like 3 people can sit in reasonable comfort. It's not, let's say, as small as the EcoSport. Overall though, the under thigh support is where this car lacks. It's not that comfortable over long distances because of the lack of under thigh support. The seats extend far enough, but then the seats have been placed very down to give this sense of space. But because of that, you do not have enough under thigh support. Even if you extend your legs, your thighs do not touch the seat. So this becomes uncomfortable over long distances. And I say this from experience because I've done a few trips in the rear seat of the Baleno, and your legs start aching after 3-4 hours in the rear seat. Okay, let's talk front seats now. The space in the front is decent. Like, even in terms of cabin width, it's decent here. In terms of the comfort of the seats themselves, though they are comfortable for short distances, these seats aren't great for long journeys, and it isn't something that is unique to Baleno. All these hatchbacks, you would find a similar issue with these seats. Even the Polo, I've tried long distances, even the i10, similar story. So if you want more comfort in the front seats, you would have to upgrade to a higher segment. Where the Baleno does deliver is in terms of features. Now you have these height adjustable seat belts. You also have a touchscreen that has Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. The screen response is decent. What they could have done better is have some physical buttons here. For example, for controlling the volume, it takes too much clicks, click. It's a very bad experience. Overall, the cabin of the Baleno, nothing unique to talk about. I think in terms of features, as I said, it even has an auto dimming rear view mirror, so it has most of the things that you're looking for. Nothing too fancy overall, but again, I think as a buyer you might get lost due to some of these features when you're hunting for other more mechanically sound cars. Might not have these features, and these features might dazzle you in the showroom, but don't fall for that. Like, try those cars out, maybe you will enjoy driving them more. And in fact, like as I said before, even if I know there are buyers out there for whom a car is just a thing that needs to get the job done, and for such buyers also, I think the Swift is a much better proposition. Like, in case you only want to buy a Maruti, let's say you've been hurt by the horrible after sales of Tata, or maybe it's Volkswagen's or Skoda's dealers that have put you in that situation that you only want to buy a Maruti or a Toyota now. Even then, I would say just buy a little bit more exciting Maruti, maybe the Swift instead of the Baleno. That's it from my end in this video. Let me know what your thoughts are on the Baleno. Would you buy it? If not, if you were in this segment, what car would you buy? Thanks for watching.